Hey y'all, welcome back to Mask Monday, Myers Rehaul edition. I'm Shelly Moth, and we're gonna finish this mask up today, so let's jump in. Okay, so there's only a few more steps left to finish this Myers mask. Right now he's still super clean, so the first thing I'm gonna do is weather it. Once he's weathered, I'm gonna seal the paint job, and then I'm gonna glue on that first layer of hair that I took off. And then once I do that, I'm gonna put some brown back in the hair and then also some black streaks and stuff like that. And then he'll be totally done, and then we can show you how to display your Myers mask next week. So first, let's just start weathering him. The method for weathering it is just super diluted black paint. I'm just gonna use like 50-cent Apple box paint from Walmart, just black, heavily diluted with water. You don't use latex paint for the weathering or ink when you're doing a weather job like this. Ink is gonna stain it too much, and the latex will like crumble up. It's gonna dry into little bits, and it's gonna, just spread all over the place. And then I'm just gonna start dipping the cotton ball in and just wiping it all over the mask and wiping it off and wiping it on and wiping it off. I'm gonna start at the back of the mask just to kind of see how this is reacting to it, so I don't mess anything hardcore up. Yeah, it's just really kind of ripping off the cotton. Maybe I'll try just using a sponge. So I'm trying to get it, especially in the spots where like the dirt would collect naturally, because this is supposed to be replicating, the idea of like it getting dirty and worn and taken on and off and stuff like that. And so the spots where the dirt is gonna settle is like the crevices, like in the nose and the lips, under the chin, and then especially like in the eyes, like right in there. So I'm just going over the whole mask though, but I'm just going extra heavy in those spots. But it really, the other great thing that the weathering does is not only is it replicating kind of just dirt and stuff, but it pulls the two colors together. The black pulls the white and the skin tone, so it looks a lot more natural. I don't want the skin tone to look like I painted it on. I want it to look like it's under the white. I'm just gonna switch to a clean sponge, just a little bit. I don't want it to be dripping. I don't want it to take everything off. I just want it to kind of these spots right there. I'm just gonna help me clean it and get it more white. See where it's a little streaky right there? I don't want it to look streaky. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna clean it the other direction. And then I'm gonna stipple it. Just trying to blend it so you don't see where I like wiped it off as much. You have to be somewhat careful not to rip the paint off, but this paint has been sitting on for quite a while, so I'm not in that much danger. So I'm gonna go ahead and seal the paint job now. Like I said, I called it, I'm all good on it. I'm just using this gloss finish. This is just 50% mask latex and 50% polyurethane. So it has to, whatever you use has to be stretchy. And that's why I use the polyurethane, because polyurethane is used to seal wood flooring, and wood expands and contracts. So it's naturally gonna be flexible, especially if someone's gonna put this on and off. If you use regular sealant, just like if you just painted it with acrylic paint, it's gonna crack. And then again, I mix it half and half with latex, which will also dry translucent, and it makes it even more flexible. This is like slightly glossy, and I'm not gonna hit it super heavy because I don't want it to be really glossy, but I do think the Myers mask should have a little bit of a gloss to it. And again, the point of this is to seal the paint job, because that, especially that like Apple box paint, acrylic paint, you could leave this thing for weeks and then just take some water and a sponge and wipe it and it would come off. And just real quick, for those of you who are like, oh, his button's upside down. Yeah, I know, it's upside down. It wouldn't screw in the other way. I broke it, I don't know how, but it works. Better than doing this. That'll create some serious nerve damage. And for some reason, it just won't screw back on the other way, so mine's ugly. It's okay. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna call it. It's gross, it's pretty dirty. It's more dirty than the other one that I made. Okay, so we are almost totally done with this guy. We're gonna do probably the most time-consuming part. Usually it's super time-consuming because, as I've said too many times at this point, I usually take all the hair off, and so it can take me hours to put all the hair back on. In this case, I'm just gonna try to fix this back, where the hairnet was on it. I'm gonna try to comb it out, get it to where, I get all these white bits and stuff and like that out of it. And then I'm gonna just glue on the one layer of hair that I took off. It is somewhat easy though, because like the hairline is sculpted into it. but I've done it before and I've more or less just followed that guideline and it worked out pretty well. When you're doing this, it shouldn't look super duper clean as far as that line goes. It should look a little bit more DIY, a little more handmade. So on this one, I'm definitely going to cut the mohair so that it's like still a straight line of mohair, but it's not, I'm gonna cut off this latex part completely. The only tools I'm gonna use are the latex and then like the back of a brush. This is latex. This is just mask making latex. Again, it's not liquid latex, it's thick mask making latex. When I first haired a mask, I used liquid latex and I went to make my bead and that latex just ran all down the mask. But now you'll see I'll be able to just like put a bead down and start hairing it, and I'm just gonna work from one end and I'll go all the way around to the other end, and it should be fairly easy. Okay, and then so on this edge right here, my bead wasn't quite long enough. I can just kind of reverse engineer it, put a little bead of latex on there and let it just soak in from the top. You don't want to overlap. That's another thing. I don't want this layer to go anywhere on top of that, because then I'm gonna have a super thick spot. And then you try to fix it and you try to rip off that piece and you rip the whole thing off, and like, don't be discouraged if this is like super difficult and all this crap happens, because it will happen. But I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna go with this strip now. But the line's not too bad. Like I said, it does look DIY, but I'm totally fine with that. I like the DIY look to it. The Myers mask to me had a DIY look to it. And definitely whenever I look at the expensive like $600, $1,000 masks, they have a DIY look to them. I'm pretty happy with it. Again, I don't know if it's obvious to y'all or not. I'm sure it's more obvious to a lot of you. You're just criticizing everything that I'm doing right now, and that's fine. But if it's not obvious to the rest of you, this is the spot I don't like. It goes too far in. I want to add a little bit more hair to there. But I can't do too much though, because then I'm gonna have too much hair right there. So I'm just gonna, really, it's about cleaning up that line. This latex is pretty much cured. It's dried enough to where I can kind of pull it away. Like I said, I'm cool with the hairline. Like as far as this first layer that's glued, I'm good with all this. But I'm gonna grab this first layer, I'm gonna pull it back a little bit, and I'm just gonna add a couple more pieces. I'm just gonna hide them under, because I want it to be thicker right there. It's just, the hair I grabbed for that section is just too thin. So I'm just gonna, so we let this dry for about half an hour. It feels solid, it's not even sticky or anything like that, so I'm not worried about like this hair getting into it and getting soaked with latex or anything. So I'm comfortable enough to kind of lay these layers back down over top of this, and hopefully it's a lot more full now. So I'm just gonna go through, I'm just gonna kind of style it a bit. I'm not gonna go crazy with it yet, because I'm still gonna spray this like brown and black, but I do wanna just kind of start to get that Myers style in there, make sure that I'm not missing hair anywhere. And you'll pull some hairs off, that's fine. And then when this really, really sets up, you can take a brush through it and the latex will hold. But I'll kind of hold it tight and I'll kind of just pick through it a little bit. This is like really controlled brushing, so I can kind of put it in the direction that I want. He usually has like over on his left, our right side, kind of a little bit of like a pompadour thing there and like a comb over. So I'll start to kind of beef it up here at the top like that. Okay, so the next step to finish it up, and the last step, is I'm just gonna spray it with some brown. This is like a mixture that I use for rub outs on monster masks. So it's like just like diluted ink. But it's like a dark brown red kind of color. So I'm gonna just kind of tint it up a little bit with the brown, and then I'm just gonna go in with black. This is just black ink diluted with alcohol. And I'm just gonna do some streaks with the black. And but again, yeah, so it's just like this dark brown and then black, and then we'll be totally done, other than just styling the hair and getting some cool pictures of it. And that'll be it for the Myers Rehaul. All right, so that's gonna do it for the Myers Rehaul video. Again, this is a 1978 Halloween 1 mask by Trick or Treat Studios. It was sculpted by Justin Mabry, who did an incredible job. I only had to do a few things to kind of make it to my liking. Most importantly was dremeling out the eyes a little bit, getting the shape that I wanted them. And then I took the hairline off, sprayed the whole thing with the skin tone, and then I did a down spray of white using the Motion Picture Effects Nightshades paints, also licensed through Mabry. I love those paints. That's why we have them at Nightmare Toys. I'm not saying I love them because we have them at Nightmare Toys. We have them at Nightmare Toys because I love them. So once I did that down spray of white, I went back and forth with the skin tone and the white a little bit until I liked it enough to let it dry. And then I did a quick weathering, which was just kind of sponging on and off some really diluted black acrylic paint. Once I was happy enough with it, I went ahead and sealed it with a semi-glossy finish, and then I glued the hair back on, sprayed the hair brown, sprayed the hair black a little bit, and just did a little styling to the hair, and that's really all I did for this mask. I hope that you like it. I hope that you learned something. I'm sure a lot of you will go in the comments and flip out about how non-screen accurate it looks, and I already know that. I made the mask to look the way that I like it, not to be screen accurate, so you're wasting your time. But for those of you, hopefully more than one, but if only one of you learned anything from this video, then it was worth making. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope that you liked the mask. I hope you liked the video. And if you don't like the mask, that's on you. It's not my problem. Just want to get it quickly. All right, y'all. I'm going to give the mask to the customer. His name's Nick. He hasn't seen it yet, so hopefully he doesn't hate it. Let's go. All right.
Oh man, this is so cool.
There he is.
Dude, this is so fucking sick.
You don't hate it?
No, I love it.
All right,
man.
good.
Oh, I love this thing so much, man.
Awesome, dude. Thanks a lot.
This
I'm glad
is
you
so
like
cool,
it.
man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course, dude. I appreciate it. Anytime.
Yeah, man, thanks.
Seeing the look on his face just made everything worth it. Like all those hours ripping the paint off and dremeling it and fixing it and going back and forth. It really makes it worth it when the customer really likes it. So that was awesome, and I'm glad that he liked it. I hope that you liked it too, and that's going to wrap it up for this week's Mask Monday. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, visit us at nightmaretoys.com, and I'll see you next week.